Hello TV family, welcome back to Ted and Vero TV. My name is Veronica and this is my husband.
Hi, I'm Ted.
Thank you so much for joining us today on another episode of Ted and Vero TV. So today is very different. I have some questions for Ted and I know he has some for me. So we took the opportunity and decided that why not answer those questions for you guys. Let's get into it.
My first question that I have for my wife is, what do I do that annoys you?
That's a good question.
And just keep it to one, because you could probably maybe list 20 or more.
Not really. So what do you do that annoys me? Well, so I come from a culture where when people call you, you answer. Like, let's say if I say your name, right? In my culture, we are supposed to answer. And if you don't answer when someone calls your name, it's like you are being rude and ignoring them. And I've noticed when it comes to Ted is that sometimes I'll say, honey, he will hear me, but he won't say, yes, honey, or yes, Veronica, or something like that. He won't respond. He will sit in his office and then come out and say, you called me honey. And I'm like, so in my position, I'm not sure if he heard me or he didn't hear me. So sometimes I'll say his name like twice, thinking that he didn't hear me, because automatically when someone calls you, you're supposed to answer. So I don't know if it's because I call him so much that sometimes he decides that, okay, I'm not going to answer her, I'm just going to come. But I have learned his tricks. So lately, when I call him once, I don't call him again. I know he's heard me and he's going to come. But yesterday, I called him and he didn't respond or he didn't come. And so I'm like, did you hear me? And he had headphones in his ears. But because I'm so used to him not answering when I call him, I'm like, okay, maybe he heard me. So that is one thing you do that annoys me. So when you think about the first time we met, what do you remember about that time?
Well, I had flown over 2,000 miles across the entirety of the United States from Oregon to Maryland and landed in Reagan International Airport. And I was tired, but very, very anxious and excited to meet this lovely woman. And I remember going down the escalator to the luggage to grab my bags, and I was getting my bags and thinking, you know, is she here? Is she here? Kind of scanning, but trying not to look like I'm looking. I'm just trying to act all casual and cool, you know. But out of the corner of my eye, I saw someone walking toward luggage for Alaska Airlines where I was waiting. And I thought to myself, that's gotta be her. But even from like, I don't know what it was, 40 or 50 yards, a distance, this woman was so beautiful that I couldn't believe that it really was her, but I knew it was her.
That's sweet.
And so I'm standing there trying to act all casual, and sure enough, she approaches me in this emerald green dress, and we were across this barrier to one another, and that's where we passed our first few words. Was
the vibe check.
Yeah, the vibe check was right there, and she's just looking amazing. And her friend Catherine, who escorted her to the airport, was sort of standing off a little way, trying not to, you know, get in the way, mess up the moment or whatever. But I mean, I remember thinking, wow, I mean, my mind is blown. Like, I'd seen her pictures, and so I knew that she was incredibly beautiful, but in person it was almost like a dream, like I was in a movie moment or something like that. And then I've mentioned this before in a previous video on our first date. Very shortly after that, we walked up to the parking garage, and Catherine took my luggage into her vehicle and drove off because we were going to meet with her later. And we were going to go explore. And as soon as she was driving off, Veronica grabs my hand and we're off. Like she was taking me off into her world. And I just remember that moment. It just felt like, this is it. This is the rest of my life.
I just grabbed you. Come on now. Come on. What you doing waiting? But I'm just going to set a little bit here. It felt right. That moment, it felt right. I wasn't sure. I was very scared. And as a woman, You know, you don't know. This world is a crazy world, unfortunately. And so it felt right to take my friend Catherine with me. She's a doll. She's an angel. We love her so much. Her and her family, they've been great to us. And so just that very moment when I saw him, I felt safety. I felt safety right away. I felt like I would be safe with him. And so when Catherine left, I even felt more okay, and I held his hand.
What is your favorite imperfect thing about me?
My favorite imperfect thing.
I know you don't have very much to choose from because, you know, I'm so perfect and all, but...
My favorite imperfect thing about you. See how I avoided that? Like, dude. Well, to think about a few, but to be selective of one. Oh, this is hard. My favorite imperfect thing about you is that sometimes you complain a lot. Yeah.
You're not supposed to tell them that.
I'm supposed to, you know, I want to be honest with the audience, you know.
It's fine, yeah.
Yeah, sometimes.
You guys complain too, and you know
it. You know, you have a lot of faith, and I love that about you. But sometimes too, I feel like you battle with that faith, you know, and I think it comes from a place of pain and getting a lot of disappointment in the journey of life, that sometimes you feel as though things will not be okay, you know. And so, but one thing I love though is that you don't dwell on that complaining. Like, you complain for like a good 15 to 20 minutes and then you let go of it.
Tops.
Yeah. Some people dwell on it.
Sometimes it's only a few minutes.
Sometimes it's a few minutes, which is great. So you do complain like a few minutes. I'm like, oh, another complaining. For instance, yesterday I have a confession here. Yesterday when we went in the backyard and we had just gone, I'm like, okay, I'm going to go out for some fresh air. It was like around 7 p.m. We both went out and I saw that he went into the backyard, and we've been thinking about renovating our backyard, right? And so I'm standing there, I'm like, oh, it feels good to be in the trees right now. And I see him looking at the grass in the backyard, right? I'm like, hope this is my cue. A complaint is about to come. A complaint is about to come in about the grass and how he needs to cut it. And I was like, okay, boom, this is my cue. And I just like climbed up so back.
Yeah, I vividly remember you going inside at that moment.
Yes, I came inside the house, not because I don't want to hear it, but you know how sometimes you just want a little peace and quiet?
Yeah.
You guys, this is the reality of marriage, okay? This is the reality of marriage right here. Like, I was like, nope, this is my cue. I'm out.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, another day will be okay for that. But today, not right now. Like, nope. And then, so that's one of my favorite imperfect things about you.
Oh, fair enough.
So, my next question for you is, why did you marry me?
Talk about the hot seat question. Why did I marry you?
Mm-hmm.
I think a better question to ask me would be, why would I not marry you? Because there's literally no reason why I wouldn't have married this woman. This woman honestly blew my mind from the word go. I mean, I married you because I knew it was right. There was no question in my mind. There wasn't a single moment where I doubted it. And in fact, when we rode the ferry across to the wharf on our first date, I was already sure that I was willing to marry you. I knew in that moment. There was something about your energy, something about your presence, something about your faith, which we had already talked about at length, long distance, over the phone, FaceTiming and all that kind of stuff. So I knew that you were a woman of faith. I knew that you were a woman who was driven. You wanted something more out of life. So it wasn't just like, okay, we're going to get married and then we kind of just do the day to day. Make a paycheck, spend a paycheck, make a paycheck, spend a paycheck. And the years go by and whatever, you know, we're just living life. You didn't want that. You wanted to actually reach for something. And I've always been that way.
Yeah.
My whole life, I've always wanted to reach for something more. I've always had big dreams, and you had big dreams, and
Yeah.
have big dreams,
Yes.
and that's part of what keeps
Made
us
it work.
keeps
Yeah.
us rolling and keeps us vibing. Is
Yeah.
we're always trying to push the limits of ourselves, grow, achieve those goals that we have on our heart, and so those are just a couple of reasons why. You're gorgeous.
Oh, thanks.
You're everything
Thanks.
I ever hoped for.
That is so sweet.
The list goes on and on. So why wouldn't I marry you? There is no reason.
That is a beautiful answer.
Well, that's a nice segue into my next question. My next question for you is, what do you fear most about this marriage?
Whew. So my fear doesn't really come from a marriage. My fear comes from me losing my dad, which I know we've talked about eventually doing a video about grief. We will do that. But my fear comes from, the unknown, fear of the unknown, not knowing what tomorrow holds. And my dad passed so suddenly that, I wasn't prepared for it. I wasn't sure. No one is prepared for death. You never know when it will come. And I do know that it exists, but it shocked me so hard that sometimes I have the fear of losing you. Sometimes when you go out, have you realized that I'm always say, be safe, be safe, be safe. Not that you are not safe, but I just fear this world is so cruel. You just don't know what will happen. I just fear anytime you walk out of the door that something will happen. And I just have to cast that fear out instantly and speak to my inner self and tell myself that, nothing will happen. He'll be okay. You will not be by yourself. You'll be okay. You'll be okay. You'll be okay. So that fear sometimes comes on me. So the fear of the unknown, the fear of losing you, the fear of not growing old together, because things happen and you hear stories and it's just scary stuff and it cripples me sometimes, but I have to have faith in God and trust that God put us together and He will always protect us and He will always protect you when you go out of the house. You will come back home safe. So the next question I have for you is, what is your favorite memory about us so far when it comes to our marriage?
Oh man, how do you pick one
I
best gem from
so many
great times? Wow. Well, the ride that we took just after being married, we rode the Amtrak back home. We thought that would be more romantic and we'd be able to settle into one another a lot better, traveling back home on train versus flying. Because when you fly, it is still like a 5-hour flight, but it's too short. It was almost like, this is so epic, we got married and we got married in only just a few short months after having met one another. And then to just hop on a plane, fly home, and bam, we're in Portland. It just didn't feel quite right. So we made the right move and we got an actual private suite on the Amtrak. So we had our own room and beds.
Yes, and catered food.
And the bathrooms were just a few feet down the little narrow hallway. And it was a wonderful trip. It was a great time to settle into one another. Like I said, decompressing. My wife had done such an incredible job organizing the wedding and making all of that possible. And we had done it. We got married. And crossing the United States that way and being able to see the countryside pass state by state by state and just sharing those moments together, those memories together, it was really quite an amazing time. And it was symbolic of the rest of our lives.
Yes, truly.
Setting on that journey on that train. And sleeping on the train is an experience too, which I didn't get the best sleep.
But it was perfect.
But it was still wonderful, you know? I mean, I remember dozing and you're kind of being rocked by the train and you hear the tracks, and you can kind of hear the train whistle occasionally when they pass by
a major town.
A major town when they have to, you know, do that.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just like the whole ambiance of the experience, stopping in Chicago for our 5 or 6 hour layover and just being at the train station in Chicago. And everything about it was just magical.
Yeah. It was truly perfect. Waking up in the train and actually getting a cup of coffee.
Oh, yeah.
Was just like, and opening your eyes because you're still sleepy, and you open your eyes and what you see is the mountains of Montana.
Yeah.
And it's like the snow, a little bit drizzle over the mountains, and it's like so romantic and so lovely. Like,
we can't wait to take another trip on
take
the
another
train.
trip. It's an experience I recommend for anyone.
Final question, drum roll. What's the most difficult thing that you've learned being married to me so far?
I think I want to narrow it down to you being a Caucasian man. The most difficult thing I've learned to be married to you as a Caucasian man is that not everyone will approve of your marriage, or not everyone will approve of your relationship.
Yeah.
You need to build a tough skin. You need to be really like firm and know who you are and have a strong character.
Yeah.
To be able to withstand the test of time that this life throws at us. Because sometimes we do get negative vibes from people, social media, and stuff like that. And if you're not careful, it will get to you. But if you know who you are and what you are able to overcome, then those things will not get to you that much. You know, you'll be able to like brush it off. It might affect you for a second because we are human, but once you are over it, you are over it. But so far, everything has been great, and I wouldn't choose any other person, and I wouldn't have it any other way. Well, thank you so much for joining us again on another episode. Don't forget to like, to subscribe. You guys, like, we are trying to get to 3,000 subscribers. Make it happen. Yeah. Please, please make it happen.
We're almost there.
We're almost there. Like, we have our fingers crossed that in the next month, we will get there. So please help us get there. Share our videos. Subscribe, please. Thank you so much. And we hope that you have a wonderful day, and see you next time.
See you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.